Hi everybody, it's Sarah the Attic Stitcher. Today is July 18th, 2025, and I believe this is Flosstube number 8. If it's not, it'll be in the title, but I'm pretty sure this is Flosstube number 8. Hi, I didn't record last week because between going to a concert and having tonsillitis, I had no stitching done to share. So I thought I'd just take that 2 weeks ago off and then come back and just show you all what I accomplished today instead. I've got a little bit of a different setup and I kind of wanted to share a little bit about what I'm planning to do. So for those of you who have been watching my videos, you know I always talk about how I'm just not quite satisfied with how my setup has been. I always feel like it's a little too busy in the background, or I'm not getting the greatest lighting and all of that. So today I kind of set up this little corner here. I had this plant stand that's just been standing there empty because brother likes to knock all of my stuff off. So I thought, well, let me just put some knickknacks on here. And then I was like, well, I can kind of share a little bit about my knickknacks. And then, oh, sister, she is saying hi by rubbing against the tripod. And then I was like, well, and then I can also put my books, my most recent read and my current read. And then maybe I could share a little bit about that. So I just got a bunch of different ideas going through my head. And I know some of you who are only going to be interested in the cross stitch. And then some of you who are just enjoying me as background noise and don't care if I ramble on about stuff. So what I thought I would do is start with my cross stitch, and if that's all you want to stay for, that's fine. It will not hurt my feelings if you click out after you see what cross stitching I've done, because that's the main purpose of the Flosstube. But then I thought for those of you who want to spend a little bit more time with me, or who would like to learn a little bit about my knickknacks here and my books that I'm reading, I'll share about that at the end. So there we are. I do want to give a little update. This is the first time I'm recording without having a band-aid on my face, so you can kind of see my little thing. It's a little, it like shimmers and stuff because I have some ointment over it just to kind of keep it moisturized and stuff. It's darker, but my plastic surgeon is like, you know, in a year it's going to smooth even more and be same color as your skin, as long as I avoid the sun. He says avoid tanning. I was like, I'm avoiding the sun as much as possible right now. So anyways, I've gotten to the point where I'm trying to get used to not having the band-aid on and stuff, so you all get to see me band-aidless. For those who maybe are new, the reason that I have a spot on my face is because at the end of March, beginning of April this year, I was diagnosed with melanoma skin cancer. Thankfully, it was caught extremely early, and it was a type where they were like, we can go in, cut it out, and check and make sure that we've got it all. And thankfully, they went in, they cut it out, and it came back clear. So right now, we're just letting it heal and all of that. And yeah, I've appreciated all of your love and support for those of you who've been coming back. So there's the update on that. If you're new, hi, my name's Sarah. I've been cross-stitching for 3 years, 3.5-ish years, and I have 3 cats. Currently, brother, can I adjust you all? You see the little cat tree? Brother is napping, finally. He was very upset that I was not letting him get up on the plant stand because he wanted to knock everything off of it. But Sister and Kitten are my other 2 cats, and they are roaming around. It looks like Sister might actually be getting ready to take a nap. The exciting thing is they're officially 4 years old. 4 years ago, earlier this week, is the day that my brother called me and said, Sarah, I have found a litter of kittens in my shed and I have no idea what to do. And so then I got involved and took care of 5 kittens and ended up keeping 3 of the 5. And they're the best. Their names are Brother, Sister, and Kitten because I was not intending to keep any of them. But here we are today. So they are officially 4 years old. It's hard to believe. So I think that kind of gives over the introduction. We're going to jump into the cross stitch. And I only have two things to share with you all today. I had like adjusted some things and so I ended up sitting on them. So there we go. So I only have 2 to share with you today. And we're gonna just start with the one that I have on top, if I don't hit buttons and get rid of my preview picture. And that is Cats and Floral Hats. This is a design by Pam Kellogg. Ooh, my windows. So it's a set of 4 cats, each wearing a different hat. This is my oldest whip. This is the one I started when I started cross stitching 3.5 years ago. So it's my oldest whip, and I really, really would like to finish it before the end of the year. So I think in my last Flosstube, I mentioned that I really wanted to focus in on Cats and Flower Hats and my other whip that I would love to be able to finish by the end of the year, which is Mirabillia's Winter Queen. I had 2 of the cats fully finished, and I was about 3/4 done with the 3rd. So, oops. Here is the 3rd one that I've been working on. Here's where it was last time. So I had the hat fully done, and I had started in on the cat and his face. And I am quite pleased and happy to say that I finished the 3rd cat. So here's the full thing. Here's all 3 of them. Aren't they adorable? So there's the 3, all stitched, all back stitched. And my newest one. The back stitching on these cats has been not the funnest. Of course, this is like a pattern that was done back in the 90s or whatever, early 2000s. So it's got, it's not like back stitching that you see a lot today where it's got the curves and it's a little smoother and stuff. It's very pixely. All of the cats, I find that when I backstitch their faces, even though I'm being careful and I'm doing it as the pattern calls for, their faces always turn out a bit derpy. So I'm unsure if I may end up picking out at least his nose and this eye maybe and redoing it. There's a bit of a fluff there. But I did get him finished. And then I spent the time taking out the little border because the pattern originally calls to do this like lacy type border all the way around. And on Aida, it's just not fun. I'm doing this on a 14 count Ivory Aida, and it's just not a fun pattern because it was just back stitching and French knots, and it just was not fun to do on an Aida. And I was happy just as much with it as I was without it. So I took the time to unpick what I had done and stuff. So, but there they are, my Cats in Floral Hats by Pam Kellogg. So hopefully next time I come around, you all will get to see us start on cat number 4. He is the orange one. We love orange cats. He also has my favorite hat because it's got like a big pink fluffy feather in the hat and stuff. So I think the orange cat is probably my favorite overall of the group. And it just worked out that I saved that one for last. But then my second favorite would be this middle one, the gray with the big rose. And then just because my back. What's been really cool about stitching on this one is because this was my first project that I started, especially when I look at the back, I can see how my stitching has progressed over these 3.5 years. So when I started it as a kind of a center start. So, and this gray cat was the first cat that I finished. And so it's a very messy back, very thick. So I'd like started here and then I jumped over and I actually started on this cat. So this cat you can actually see it the most. It's a really great example. So basically this half of the cat is from when I first started cross stitching 3.5 years ago. This half of the cat is this year of stitching, you know, relatively mostly in the past month or two of stitching. And I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but I can see, like, I was doing like a parking method, and I've learned that I don't really need to do a parking method on this and stuff, but it's a lot thicker. I was going straight down in columns of the one column of the 10 square and stuff. And so actually on the front, I'm sure this will come out when I actually wash it, but you can feel the ridges of you know, a square of 10 all the way down and stuff. But yeah, you can see how much thicker the stitching on this side is, how much bulkier it is, because I was just going the way I was just weaving it back and forth and taking the color down and stuff, just using a ton of thread, versus here where it's still messy just because I'm a messy stitcher on the back and there's a lot of confetti, but it's not near as thick and stuff. Like, just feeling the difference is crazy. So it's just kind of cool to be able to have that as a, there's my stitching from when I first started 3.5 years ago versus where I am now. And I know my stitching will continue to improve because that's just what always happens when you keep doing something and stuff. So that was Cats in Floral Hats by Pam Kellogg. 14 count Ivory Aida with the called for DMCs. Water time. So that was project number 1. Project number 2, and the last project to share with you all today, is Mirabillia Winter Queen. There she is. I started her in January of 2024. So we're about 1.5 years of stitching now on her. And there was actually quite a long period of time where I didn't do any stitching on her. But she's my first Mirabillia. I picked her because she's the winter queen and I'm a winter baby. My birthday is in January, so she was my birthday start for 2024. And I was very, very excited. I think she's just a beautiful, beautiful lady. Okay, so for where I was the last time I shared her, I actually had to take a screenshot of the video because I didn't take a picture before I started stitching on her. So it kind of cuts off the little bit of the bottom most part of her. Okay, that's the least amount of glare. So basically her waist up, all the stitching is done except for the whisper thread and the beading. So I've done no beading and I've not stitched anything with the whisper thread just because it's taking me so long. I don't want it to get, So I'm saving those two things for last. So once I finish all the cross stitching, do any back stitching there may be, I'll do the whisper thread, and then I'll do all the beading. So that's where I was, and she's been my focus the last like week. Ever since I finished Cats and Flower Hats, I've been so focused in on her and watching One Piece while I do it, and oh my goodness, I'm so excited about how much progress I have made on her. So here she is. I've got a dangly thread because, like I said, she's been my focus this past week. So can you all tell what I've accomplished? All of this is new. I've filled in a lot of the gaps that I had here, and I've been working on filling in a lot of the gaps that I've had in this blue area. I had like picked one of the lighter white threads. If you follow me on my Instagram, you may have seen where I did a story sharing, you know, will I be able to finish this skein? Because I was so close to finishing that skein of thread. I'm gonna sneeze. I apologize. I didn't sneeze. I thought it was. Okay. So I finished the skein, and then I had to go and find my other skein that I had of it. And stuff. So I've been working on that. I've gotten to where I've just got like I think I've got one section like down here of that color. It's like 742 or something like that. 746, 742. 762. So there's like a section down here, and then there's a section right around in here of that color left. So I'm almost done with that color entirely. But where I was stitching my Q-snap, I couldn't get over here because I had it all on this section. So I couldn't get there to do that section. And then it was just too big of a jump to try and get that section. So I had to go and focus on putting in some other colors in, so that way I could not worry so much about miscounting. So there's a little bit closer of the areas that I was working on. And all of that. Huh. Okay. Apparently when I pulled through where I've been working, I kind of knotted a little bit, but that came out really easy. There we go. So that is my Mirabillia Winter Queen. This is my first Mirabillia. And, you know, if I keep working on her like I've been working on her this past week, I could get her done by the end of the year. I kind of was hoping that I'd be able to get her done so that way I wouldn't have 2 birthday starts going in January when I start my birthday start for 2026. So we'll see if I can finish her up and get her started. I'm stitching her on a 28 count Gothic Lugana from Picture This Plus. When I was first started stitching like the first year and stuff, because I started her after I'd been stitching for a year, I was really leaning more so on, I'm itching really bad guys, sorry, on Lugana. But since then I've gotten to where I really love linen. So that is my cross stitching plans. For those of you who are just here for the cross stitching, I'll share my plans and then you can leave. For those of you who want to hang out with me a little bit more, I'm going to share about my things on my shelf afterwards. But for my plans, I want to definitely get a start on the 4th cat. So that's my goal. Get a start on the 4th cat by the time that I come back in 2 weeks. And then I would love to keep working on Winter Queen. And I would love to put in some stitching, I think either on my Rapunzel or my Jujutsu Kaisen anime piece. Those two I haven't picked up in a while just because I've not been cross-stitching very much, just dealing with health and all of that. So I think I would like to pick up those two if I have time over the next 2 weeks. For sure, Cats and Floral Hats will be touched. Most likely, Winter Queen will be touched because I've got the itch to sit down and keep working on her and watching One Piece. I would like to get a little bit of time in on Rapunzel and a little bit of time in on Jujutsu Kaisen. My JJK trio, both of those are Make It Pink designs. So that's my hope in 2 weeks to be able to share those 4 things with you. So if you're just here for cross-stitching, thanks for joining me. You know, I'm at 295 subscribers, which just boggles my mind. So thanks for spending some of your time with me. I hope you enjoyed getting to see my progress on my projects. I'm excited to be getting back in the groove of cross-stitching and stuff. So I hope to be able to share some more with you all. And as always, thanks for watching. So for those of you who want to stay and hang out, we're going to stay and hang out. But for those of you who are ready for leave, bye. I hope you have a great time stitching. I'm a little excited to share about my shelf here. Of course, I have my dad up there. That's me and my dad. And then my mom got me this vase or picture when she went on a trip this past month. I've just put some dried flowers in it that I got from a coworker. Some coworkers got me some flowers when I was out from surgery. So I dried those and put them in there, and now I've got my dad up there with me. The second shelf here is some things that I collect. I like to travel, and back in the fall I had the opportunity to go to Japan. One of my very closest friends lives in Japan, and I got to go and spend 2 weeks with her. So those are some of my souvenirs that I got. So I'm going to share a little bit more and bring them closer for you all to be able to see. And then on the bottom here, it's just a little decorative lantern, but then I've got my most recent book I've read and the book I'm currently reading. So I'll share a little bit about those for those of you who want to hang around. So let me pause and pull over some of the Japan souvenirs. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one, and I'm trying to be very careful because they're loose and just sitting on this little stand. I got this, let's see here. Okay, yes, I had to check and see which one it was that. So there are temples, Buddhist temples throughout Japan. There's also Inari shrines throughout Japan. This is a little zodiac set, other than this little kitty cat there. Let me take her off. So I bought this zodiac set when I was visiting the Izumo Taisha, which is a temple in the, I think, Shimane prefecture of Japan. You can Google pictures and stuff. I'll put the names of all of these so you can just copy and paste. But this is a little zodiac set that I got while in Izumo Taisha. For those of you who watch anime or read manga, you might know of the Fruits Basket. And it's a story that revolves around the zodiac. And of course, some of the stories is about how the cat is not in the zodiac and stuff. And so it focuses in on that as well. So this little guy, this little kitty cat, who's an orange kitty cat. So if you like Fruits Basket, you know orange. I got him when I was also in Shimane Prefecture, in a different town, and it just happened that it was other than just being slightly smaller, it is like a perfect match to this set and stuff. So I found me a cat to add to it. So that's one souvenir that I got on my trip to Japan last year. So let me pause and put this down. Okay, the other two things are not as difficult to hold. So next is this little vase here. I got it. You want to say hi, Kit? Okay. I've got stuff in a little cat tree. Here you go. All right. So this little vase I got also while I was in Shimane Prefecture. Shimane Prefecture is a very rural area of Japan. So it was great that I had my friend there. She speaks Japanese fluently and stuff. She lived in Shimane for a couple of years. So this was great. And so I found this little bud vase and knew immediately that I wanted to get it in order to put my cat whiskers in it. So for those of you who may not know, cats naturally shed their whiskers. And since I have 3 cats inside, I very frequently find cat whiskers laying around. There was one time where I actually saw a whisker fall off of Kit and was like so excited because it was just like her whisker fell off, like just naturally, boop. So, but it brings me so much joy to find them. So when I saw this little bud vase in Japan, I was like, I'm gonna get that and I'm gonna stick all the whiskers I find. So these are basically all the whiskers I've found over the last 9 months, so almost a year's worth of whiskers from 3 cats. All my cats have white whiskers, so there's no way for me to be able to distinguish other than if they have black at the end, then I know they're either brother or sister because Kitten only has white whiskers. So, anyways, so I use that to hold my whiskers. And next, this is probably one of my favorite things that I got because this is it's called a Goshwin-cho, I think. It's a book, and there's many different Buddhist and Inari shrines in Japan. And when you make a spiritual pilgrimage, you can get what's called a Goshwin, which is basically a special stamp with calligraphy to mark that you visited this temple. Of course, they started out, and there's people who still use them for religious purposes, but a lot of people nowadays get them as souvenirs. They're really cheap. I think the most expensive one I got was like 5 yen, which is like less than $5 and stuff. And they're just a really cool way to kind of catalog your journey if you're going to be visiting multiple places throughout Japan, or if you're going to be visiting multiple temples throughout Japan. So I got, most places that have Goshwin will have the little special books. They're like accordion style and stuff. And I visited, when I was in Japan, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 temples or shrines in Japan. And got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different Goshwin. So there's plenty of room that hopefully when I go back to visit Japan, I can visit even more temples and get even more Goshwin stamps. But I'm just gonna flip through. So I got my Goshwin-cho at Gotokuji Temple, which is a temple that is known for having the lucky cats that we see all over the place. And so, of course, since that's where I got it, that's what this Goshwin is for Gotokuji Temple. the next temple I visited was Sensoji Temple. This is one of the very well-known temples in Tokyo. It's the one that has the huge lantern. And that's what these two are from. So there's Gotokuji, or not Gotokuji, Sensoji Temple, and then they have a kind of smaller temple as well. So I got for both of them since I saw both of them. I don't know. I think this might be the main Sensoji Temple and this is the smaller one, or it's reversed. I don't remember which. I think this is the smaller one. And this is the larger Sensoji Temple one. But that's where I got those two from. And then the next one I went to was Izumo Taisha. This is another one that's known for a really large, like, weaved knot thing. I'll put the names of all of the temples in the description box. So if you just want to copy it and paste it into the whatever search engine you use to see pictures of the actual temples, you can. But there was the main temple, and then there's a minor temple at Izumo Taisha as well. Excuse me. And that's where I got these at. I can't tell you. I have pictures to show which one goes to which temple, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I just know these two came from Izumo Taisha. And one was for the main, and then one was for a small one. They also, at this temple, are like known for rabbits. So there's like little rabbits everywhere and stuff. It's really, really pretty. Next, I went to Taikodani Inari Shrine. This shrine is in Shimane Prefecture. So the Izumo Taisha in this shrine are in the next one that I show are all in Shimane Prefecture. So if you have the ability to travel out into a very rural area of Japan, if you ever visit, I highly recommend going and seeing these temples. They're beautiful. But this is an Inari Shrine, so it's very well known for the foxes that we see a lot of the times. So the main temple had this double spread. This was like a special one that they had available. So they're the two foxes. So I got that one. And then they had a smaller little shrine as a part of it as well. And that's what this one is. So those came from the Taikodani Inari Shrine. Then also in Suwano was the Yomei Temple. This was the Buddhist temple, which is this one. And then at the end of my trip, back in Tokyo, we went and saw the Meiji Jingu Temple, which is like one of the other very famous ones. And that's what this one came from. And like I said, now I have, because I've got all of this to fill in, and then it flips over to the back. So you get plenty of space in a book to get all what you want. Some people talk about how there's some shrine people who, if they see that you have, like, this is very obviously Buddha, or related to the Buddhist religion. I don't know. I assume that's Buddha. But there's some people who are like, sometimes they don't want you putting both the Inari, the shrines with the temples, because they're two different religions. But my friend even talked to some of the people who were doing the Goshuin at a couple of the temples that we went to, and they're like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Because I think they are starting to recognize that so many people now are coming to see the temples as tourists and not so much as religious, and seeing how it's, because all the money that you give to get these goes towards upkeep of the shrine and stuff. So I think they recognize that. So as long as you're respectful and stuff, they're like, we don't care. at least the ones that we talked to. So, but that is my other, probably one of my favorite souvenirs that I got when I visited Japan. So I'm going to pause and put these up, and then we'll talk about my books. All right, so I have 2 books to share a little bit about. One is my most recent finish, and that is Edgedancer from Brandon Sanderson. I've been working on rereading the Stormlight Archive. I've read books 1 through 3 and Edgedancer, so I just finished my reread of Edgedancer. I'm getting ready, hopefully soon, to start on my reread of book 3, because I have book 4 and 5 that I need to read. But it's been a while since I've actually read these books. If you know Brandon Sanderson, you know he writes chunky books. This is a novella, and it's pushing novella. It's like borderline novel. Because I think most people consider novels at 300 pages, and this novella is 268 pages. So, but this is a little just novella featuring some characters who Brandon says are going to play a bigger role later in the series of the Stormlight Archive and stuff. So I reread that, and that was fun, really good. I think I put like a 3.75, 3.5 on this. It's not like fantastic, but I really love Lift is the character. She's great. She's just fun. And so I'm sure that once we get to the stage where she's a bigger part of the story, as Brandon has hinted at, that this will create a lot more new depth and meaning. That's what I've found as I've been rereading books 1 and 2 of Stormlight Archive, so Way of Kings and Words of Radiance, is in a way it feels like I'm reading them for the first time. I've read them before, but in a way it feels like I'm reading them for the first time, because they are huge books. They're over 1,000 pages, and there's just so much into it, and so many like little references that Brandon makes to his Cosmere, that the more you learn about his universe, the more you get out of what he's putting into this book. And I'm not very well read in Brandon. I have read the first 3 of Stormlight Archive, I've read Edgedancer, and I've read the 4 secret novels he came out with. So I'm actually not very well versed in the Cosmere, even though I love his writing. So there's so much I am probably missing even with this second reread of these books, just because I've not gotten as much of his other works about the Cosmere under my belt. So, but if you enjoy fantasy and you're not scared of long books, highly recommend Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. If you're scared of long books, but you're not scared of long audiobooks, the audiobooks are really great too. And I actually listen to them on like 1.75 speed because Kate reading, and I don't know which way she, oh, I can't remember his name. Michael? Or Nathan? Michael. Anyway, the 2 narrators that he has for the Stormlight Archive books, they're great. But they also are very slow speaking, which makes sense for an audiobook. Some people need slower pace to be able to process it. But I'm able to listen on 1.75 speed, so it takes a 60-hour book down almost half. So highly recommend. And then my current read is The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. This just came out this week. This is a part of the same world as The Spell Shop. I read The Spell Shop last year and loved it. It's fantasy cozy Hallmark in book form. So if you like fantasy, if you like cozy romance reads, if you like Hallmark cheesiness, you would like The Spell Shop. And I suspect you will like The Enchanted Greenhouse. I'm not too far in it. I'm on chapter 10. I think I'm just at 100 pages in. 94. So I'm 94 pages in, and I'm just really enjoying it. It's so fun. Since I got it a couple of days ago, after it was released, I've had a bit more of a dilemma. Do I sit and cross stitch or do I sit and read? So really, really, really enjoy this. So if you have any book recommendations that are kind of similar to like a fantasy, cozy, romance, cheesy Hallmark vibe, let me know, because I love this. I'm not big on spice in my romance books, so I prefer little to no spice. But if you have any recommendations, let me know. Or if you have any fantasy recommendations, let me know. I'm trying to be a little more accountable to my reading. Kind of like why I started my Flosstube, was to kind of be a little more accountable to my cross stitch, but also to just catalog what I've done. It's kind of why I was like, well, maybe I want to start sharing a little bit about the books that I'm reading. So that's what the purpose of this was. If you like it, let me know. If you want to keep seeing more, I'm probably going to keep the same setup, but I might change out the knickknacks because I can't leave this stuff here. Brother will knock it over. So I have to leave it empty if I'm not here. So the knickknacks will change, and if you liked hearing the stories behind them, let me know. I'd be happy to pull more from my different travels and stuff that I've done and share a little bit. If you think I spent too much time on these things and you have no interest, just let me know. I just thought it would be something fun to try. So yeah, let me know what you think, if you want to keep hearing some more of my stories or what. And I will see you all in 2 weeks with my next Flosstube, and I hope you all have a great time stitching, and we'll just do a little pivot here. Kit Kat, you want to say hi? You want to say bye? And then brother. Sister's over on the couch. I can't show you sister, but there we go. So anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think. If you want to keep hearing my stories, you will for sure get to keep seeing my cross stitch, so don't worry, that's not going away. But thanks again for watching and spending some time with me, and I hope you all have a great time stitching or reading or whatever it is that you like to do. Bye.